Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Welcome back to the show. We are honored to have our professional of the year joining us. Yay! Diana Bejasa joining us here. She's a speaker, an author, life coach, and does so much to help people. And the name of the company, Savor Life with Diana. That's also the website. I want to point that out right off the top. She's helping so many people here with their retreats, ambitious business leaders with burnout, success, health, happiness. She does it all. And energy healing. Hello and welcome back today. How are you?
Hi, Jill. Great to be here.
Great to hear the official word. You are professional of the year. Very exciting stuff. We're excited to have you back. How would you describe yourself? My goodness.
Yeah, I have had a whole lot of life experiences with things that look really challenging or like what I would call almost like rotten ingredients. And I just love helping people discover their own power to transform that and to turn it into something really meaningful and special and to really take charge of their life so that no matter what happens to them, they feel empowered, they feel purpose driven, they feel powerful.
Well, thank you for being here. It's excited to have you here. And for today, I know we're going to go over the what should I say, the format of the show. Purpose-driven pivots, changing careers with courage is what we're calling that today, right?
Yeah.
And just a little back around on that. You say that people have to, really embrace their true calling. So what does this really mean? Explain. How do we know our true calling?
Um, yeah. So, I've worked with quite a few clients on this, just in my own experience, pivoting careers multiple times. What I find is that a lot of times in life, we can get stuck doing what other people think we're supposed to do, or even if we're doing something that we love, sometimes we get so caught up in other people's definitions of success or like what the ladder looks like that we kind of lose sight of what really matters to us, where we're not really doing what it is that we really care about. We're doing what other people tell us to care about. And I definitely can relate to that when I worked as a banker. Like I knew I was passionate about business, and investment banking is, typically looked at as the pinnacle or the top of that kind of career. And so, it was an honor to get to serve Fortune 500 companies and to work with the CFOs and to do all that, advising them in large $1 million, $1 billion deals.
Yeah.
But when I thought about it, I didn't really align with my values. So I didn't really love making Walmart richer or McDonald's richer. My parents had both been small business
Yeah.
owners, and I really felt more passionate about serving small business. So, you know, through my pivots, I pivoted first out of banking into being a chef, and then from being a chef, when I got very sick, I pivoted to becoming a life coach. So, what I mean by embracing your true calling is listening to that part of you that maybe feels some dissatisfaction in your work.
Mm-hmm.
And rather than, I think sometimes, we know how to like stuff that down or how to ignore it. But I think the more that we give ourselves an opportunity to think like, what is this telling me? What is this indicating about myself? Using our longing and discontent as signals of opportunities for growth or opportunities for us to live a more fulfilled life. And when I've done this with clients as well, I had one client, she was working in finance, talked to her about like her dreams. And she had been living a life that she called like the seventh circle of hell for so long that when I asked her that question, she honestly had no idea what her dreams were. So I gave her, a moment to like think about it. She came back like a week later and was like, just her complete energy had changed. It was so powerful to witness. She was like, even before she said
Ah,
anything, it was clear to me that she knew where she was going finally. She
yeah.
didn't feel directionless and lost. And for her, she was like, since I was 7 years old, I've wanted to write. And so we pursued that path together. Like, how could it be that she could be living her dreams doing work that was truly
Mm-hmm.
passion driven and purposeful for her. And for her, it was a combination of dance and writing, and she does that still to this day. I have another client who was working uh, for a company and had a very cushy job and had hit all of the milestones that again other people set for us, but found herself feeling really dissatisfied. And I asked her that question, like
Mm-hmm.
if you could be doing anything, if you could get paid to do anything you'd love,
Ah,
what would it be? And like I'll
girl.
share a little bit more about this as well, but like she loved volleyball. Like at first she was going to all the things that she had done before, like she had done some nursing, other things that like had been careers for her in the past. And I was like, no, I'm talking about like if you really listen to your heart and if you really listen to yourself about what you want to do,
Mm-hmm.
what would that be? And she was like, I played volleyball. I would love to be able to like make a difference with kids coaching volleyball. Um, and yeah, so I think that when we begin to explore that, right? I spoke to her last week, and she just, as a result of us doing the coaching together, we're only about a third of the way through the program, and she was like, now I'm starting to think like, where can I dream even bigger? Because I think my old dream was small. Like I
Yep.
wasn't allowing myself to dream big. So
Mm-hmm.
that's one of the things that happens when we allow ourselves to embrace our true calling, to look at what it is we really love to do, is like the dreams just compound and compound on each other. And we become even more emboldened to do things that we never thought we'd be able to do.
And there's so much potential in each of us. And I can't believe how many times you've pivoted, which is great. Some people, have done that. Some people are too scared to take that leap, right? Because sometimes if you
Yeah.
pivot, well, there's all the what ifs, right? But we have to take that risk, take that leap in a sense, and, kind of reignite that passion, as you say. So we got to balance the investment you said with fulfillment and find that new purpose for past experience. So how do we do this?
Yeah. So there's an economics concept called sunk cost. And
Yes.
what this means, right, is like not making decisions based on where you've already spent money, but making decisions on where you truly want to spend money, right? Because
Okay.
sometimes we are making investments for the simple reason that that's where we've made investments before.
Yep.
Whether that's time, energy into our career, even into our family, right? Um, and I think that it's really worth us considering, instead of just making a decision by default, is this a decision I want to continue to make? Is this investment, if you will, continuing to pay off? What's the ROI on this investment for me now? Am I still paying into it because at one point it had a high ROI for me, or am
Yeah.
I only paying into it because, or am I paying into it because I truly am continuing to see the ROI, the return on investment? And so that's how I look at when we make a pivot. It's like, are we doing something that we just have always done? Or are we doing something that we really want to be doing? Are we still loving what we're doing? And I think it's okay for us. We talked a little bit about this last time, right? How like there is a stigma around quitting or giving up. And I think that sometimes we end up stuck in something, being able to say, oh, I did this for 50 years, I did this for 70 years, but did you like truly live in a way that you felt
Yeah.
was fulfilling? Did you take all that life has to offer you and seize it? Or did you just take the first thing that life showed you and hold on? And I think there's something to be said for living that full life. So yeah, so that's my take on when it comes to balancing investment versus fulfillment and
Okay.
looking at it
Sunk
as sunk
cost.
cost.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Got it. I was wondering what that was about. Awesome. Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah. And then let's talk about like again, like finding a new purpose for past experience. I mentioned how my client who was working in the corporate field, was realizing like she was feeling called to do something else, was thinking about going back into her nursing career or like using those skills. And as I tapped a little bit deeper into what she really wanted, out came volleyball,
Yeah.
right? And I don't know about you, I'm not passionate about volleyball. Um,
No, no, not me.
but what's cool is seeing what energizes somebody, what makes somebody else like light up and completely shift their energy, where they, they're so passionate. It's like they can talk about these things forever. And I think that the more that we tap into that life energy within us, it is really powerful. So I think it's about looking at, like all these things that we have in life. Like if we were to look at all of our life experiences as
Yeah.
things in our cupboard or our fridge, right? Like it's like, are you are you going to the fridge? Or are you going to the cupboard and just making the same meal over and over again? Or are you
Guilty.
really looking at what's in there and deciding like, like I have this, I'd love to make something with this. I haven't, this ingredient has been collecting dust in the back of the fridge for how long, and like pulling out some of the things that we really want to work with. And for me, when I made that pivot from chef to life coach, I realized, wow, like yes, business, culinary consulting would be the easy choice, right? I have restaurant experience, I have business experience. But if I really look back deep into the cupboard and I want to make something completely new
Mm,
here, like I have PTSD from surviving 9/11. I
mm,
have a lot of different experiences in life, changing careers, doing all these things. And rather than just leave them there to collect dust, what if I drew them out and created new value as a result of them? And I believe that's what we can do with our life's ingredients. Like every single one of us lives a completely different life. And I think also of like different cuisines, right? So if you look at every country, every region's different cuisine, what they do is they take the ingredients around them and they make something with whatever that is, right? Sometimes they have an
yeah.
abundance of fish or they have an abundance of dairy or whatever it is. And then they turn that ingredient that they seem like they have too much of into multiple different things. And I
Yeah.
think we have the same opportunity to do that in life. And when we do that, that's when we create a signature, almost like our signature cuisine that
Uh-huh.
nobody else can touch. Nobody else can make Thai food the same way as in Thailand, where they have those specific ingredients. You know what I mean? Or like, or France, like there's specific ingredients that they have that they cultivated that are available there that make for the food to be really special there. So I think when we do the same thing with our life, when we create our own cuisine, if you will, like our own
Yep.
signature, nobody else can ever take that away from us. Versus when we just choose to be a cog in the wheel, where we're easily replaceable.
So true. It is. Oh my goodness. You never think about these things. I mean, you're igniting me and reinvigorating me. And I hope people are feeling this too, because yeah, there's a lot to be passionate about. There's a lot to live for. And and it's hard, like you mentioned with your trauma, with everyone has the trauma in their lives and it kind of holds them back. But you got to really get that courage to change and to step up and reach out to someone like Diana. By the way, at this time, let me just remind everyone, well, I can ask you, how can we reach you?
Yeah. So my website is savorlifewithdiana.com, Savor life, because I believe that you should take all those ingredients and turn them into something delicious that you can savor. And or my social media pages, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube is at Savor Life with Diana. No .com.
Perfect.
Just at Savor Life with Diana.
Thank you so much. All right, here. And by the way, if you are just tuning in, today's topic of conversation, we're talking about purpose-driven pivots. So changing careers with courage. Let's continue, Diana.
Yeah. So once we take all these ingredients that we have in life, right, that nobody else has, and we turn them into something new, or we attempt to, a lot of times we don't necessarily know what it is we're creating, right? Like we've never made this before, right? Like you're
Mm-hmm.
on this trailblazing path pretty much where you don't know what it is that you're doing, right? So it really reminds me of my client Nenny, her name, the one who's been pursuing volleyball, right? And in practicality, right? Like because we all have bills to pay, we have families, all those things. I encouraged her to keep her regular job
Yeah.
while she was pursuing this as like a part-time thing, right? And when we were talking about her dream, it never seemed like she could get paid for what she loved, coaching volleyball. That
Mm-hmm.
seemed like a crazy pipe dream to her, but I was like, hey, if it's what you'd love, like write it down, like add this to your vision, add this to what it is that you really would love. Um, and, she just started on this new adventure, right? She started asking some of the people
Yeah.
that she knew in the community about, like, hey, can I help coach clinics? Can I help do drills? Can I do this? Right. So just beginning to use some of those things in her cupboard, use some of those ingredients that she'd had in life that she had left in the back, to collect dust. She started to dust them off and just play with them again, right? She started to reinvigorate that life for herself, right? Like, and she found herself having so much fun, right? And she didn't know where it was going to lead. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that instead of getting caught up in where it's going to lead, it is really about just having fun, right? Because of that in and of itself is
So
us
true.
living. Um, and so yeah, so she's playing, she's helping these kids play volleyball and teaching them skills, doing all these different things. And um, so instead of looking at this feeling of lack of fulfillment in her career as like something that's like rotten, right, or like bad, or something like that, she started to like really notice as well, because she was feeling unfulfilled, like, wow, this provides me a little bit of stability, right? So
Yep.
sometimes it's also like, instead of looking at
Yes.
what seems like it stinks as bad, it's like, how can I start to appreciate what it is that I have? And I think that when we start to have that kind of mindset shift, right? Like in my journal, I talk a lot about, and one of the practices that we use a lot is gratitude, right? And that's not a natural thing for me. Like it's much easier for me to notice all the problems and like the negative. But what I've found is,
Yeah.
and there is brain research behind this, the more that you focus on gratitude, your brain can actually rewire, your life experience can completely transform. And
Yep.
that's why it's one of the things that I coach with my clients when we're talking about, not having a lot of time, using just 15 minutes a day, dedicating a little part of that to gratitude. And that's what I think we're doing when we look at our life's ingredients and we try to make them into something else, right? Instead of the same old that, we're tired of having every single day. What if we put a little bit of appreciation behind those ingredients, tried to find the good in what it is that we have, as opposed to just complaining there's nothing to eat? Because in life, you can't Uber Eats or DoorDash
So
quite the
true.
same way.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't work, it doesn't quite work like that. You got to eat what's in your fridge. And so I think that it is a lot about like looking at what you have, looking at your personal life experience, your insight, your professional experience, to figure out like, if I were to create this new canvas, what would it
Mm-hmm.
look like? And how do I appreciate what it is that I have, even if maybe other people wouldn't see anything valuable in it? Yeah, so I think that that is a lot of what we want to do
Yep.
when we're looking for it, for the good, and we're repurposing these ingredients, these things that we just have in the cupboard, um, and making something completely different, right? Like, um, yeah, I just think it's like this very profound thing that we can do to make something completely dreamy and delicious for us. And, like that reawakens our palate, makes us come alive again, makes us really get to taste how
Getting
delicious life
hungry.
can
We're
be.
talking about blending all these ingredients. I love it though. As a chef, I love it. I love the analogy here to food. It's true, but oh my goodness, I love it. And then I can't wait, finding the good and the rotten. I want to hear about that too. But it's like everything's food wise. I'm getting very hungry with this conversation. But it,
Yeah. Yeah. So I want to talk about that, finding good in the rotten,
yeah.
just from my own perspective. So I mentioned getting really burned out
Mm.
as a chef, pivoting to coaching. And I love the work that I do as a coach, but it kind of felt like there was something missing, like a missing ingredient to what I was doing. It kind of tasted like the coaching I was doing was a little bland or
Yeah.
vanilla, like, because, like there's programs. I definitely have blended my own modalities based on my personal experience to create something, but I felt this like longing, like when you've had like the same thing for too many days, like
Hmm.
you've had the same breakfast and then you're like, I want something that tastes different, or like I want something that like, is a little bit different. Well, I was feeling a little bit that way. And I realized I was like, I think I'm somehow supposed to reblend
Hmm.
my passion for cooking and food back into my coaching and wellness practice, but I don't know how. Again, right? Like, so there I am, like looking to blend stuff, embarking on this unexpected adventure, which I didn't know how it was going to turn out, right? And I'll tell you that it was hard because for a long time I didn't want to touch anything cooking related. I was so burned out and bitter
Yeah.
that like I had lost the love of something that I really love. And this
Oh,
is why, for me, I think it's so important to help people who want to avoid burnout because it can destroy something that you had a passion for or a love for where you don't even like it anymore. It's like, when you have like a favorite meal too many times and then like it's no longer something that you enjoy. Like that was how I was starting to feel about cooking. And here I was in this place where I was like, I think I'm ready to like reincorporate this and like find a way to blend it into what it is I'm doing now. And so that's where a lot of my retreats came out of, right? Because I was like, wow, this is a really unique way that I can serve people. I
yeah.
can offer the coaching and the healing. But especially in a retreat, you want to be eating really wonderful food. You want to have healthy things, but at the same time,
Yep.
feel like you're getting a luxurious experience. And for me, a lot of times when I had been on my own health journey and looked at like healthy food, a lot of times I would have this salad that was healthy, met all the criteria, but afterwards all I wanted was a cheeseburger because I wasn't satisfied.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, one of my passions when it comes to cooking, which I get to share in my retreats, is using my experience working as a
Yeah.
chef in San Francisco, working in Michelin-starred restaurants where they were using local seasonal cuisine, um, and like finding a way to help people have really these experiences with food where they're eating locally, seasonally, but at the same time they're feeling satisfied. They're not
Yeah.
feeling like they're missing something. You know what I mean? Like they're like enjoying a vegan meal and being like, "Oh my God, that was vegan," or "Oh my God, that was, that had, no dairy. I didn't even notice," type of thing. It's like, so I think that the more that we look at life's ingredients, the things that we have that we want to work with, right? We can really find good in there. And what I love is that nobody else can do these retreats like I can, right? Because who else is a
That's right.
professional chef, life coach, right? So it helps us even in business to create our niche, right? If we're looking at this from a business perspective. When you get clear on your ingredients, things you have that nobody else has, when you find a way to blend that
Yep.
to create something powerful, nobody else, no, there is no competition. You have the pure competitive advantage because these are your ingredients. You know them better than anybody. And so that's why I love the retreats that I get to hold as well, because it just gets to be so much fun. I get to teach a little bit of cooking, so the participants walk away with more,
Aw.
school skills that they can use for a lifetime, but also just a really memorable experience that nourishes them, mind, body, and soul. So yeah, there's a lot of good to be found in the rotten.
Oh my goodness. I love it. Thank you so much for sharing that. And we still have just a few minutes left in the show. We have a lot more to get through. What else did you want to talk about next?
Yeah. So we're touching up on this already, but when it comes to achieving dreams beyond our imagination, right? Once you start to pursue or look at this thing that you want to do that you don't know how you're going to blend it all together, it doesn't seem like it all fits quite
Mm-hmm.
yet, or you just you want to do these things, but you don't know how they go together. Immediately new doors start to open, right? So for me, that was like, wow, like, look, I could do these retreats where, they blend a little bit of my cooking knowledge. It
Mm-hmm.
blends my knowledge about burnout and quality of life and
Yep.
helping people achieve their dreams in a way that is completely new. It really opens new doors for us, right? Like even my client Nenny, who, with her volleyball, like had this passion, this dream of doing more of it, but didn't even have the the courage, I would say at first, to
Aw.
dream big where she could see herself doing it full time. Like she was just like, if I could do this in my spare time, and like I even encouraged her to be like, well, what if you could get paid for this, right? And she was like, I
Yeah.
don't know, like that doesn't
Uh,
seem real or realistic, right? And I was like, okay, well, it the question isn't is it real or realistic when it comes to achieving dreams? The question is, what would you love?
Yeah.
If it could be anything in the world, yes, okay, there are a million, being a person who loves statistics, yes, there are a million ways that the statistically doesn't work out, but we don't care about the probability. We just need one possibility. And so is there one possibility in the infinite possibilities in the universe that you could find a job where you're where you're where you're coaching volleyball and getting paid? That's all we want to connect to, is just that one possibility, right? Like, sure, the other stuff is possible, or maybe more probable, but all we need is one thing that we would love that in the infinite realm of possibility could be a reality. And so she was like, okay, I'm willing to play with that idea, right? It was outside of her comfort zone to even think that way. But as I was coaching her, I just encouraged her to just keep a corner of her mind open. And as she was doing that, as she was doing this work, making a meaningful impact, like not just for the kids who she was coaching in volleyball, but also for her family, because she, her daughter loves volleyball. So it was like her daughter got to be involved in a way that she wasn't expecting. Really, really powerful for her to just like get to have these more meaningful times with her daughter before her daughter went away to college. Right. So it was life-changing for her to do this, not only for the people who she coached, but for herself, for her daughter, to spend that time with her daughter, but then also to show her daughter it was possible to dream bigger than what seemed possible. Right. Or than what seemed probable. So it made this huge impact for her to pursue her dream.
For sure.
And as she did that, she was able to just unlock more and more of her potential. So now she got an invitation to like host volleyball clinics, for example. And when she was hosting these clinics, the person who was in charge was like, oh yeah, send me your banking information. And she was like what?
What? Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, like, you're going to get paid for your time. And she was like, what? Like the thing that she had not thought was possible, all of a sudden was exactly what was happening. Literally, almost, if you will, like fell in her lap, right? And it's the same thing. Like I've seen for myself, I've seen for my clients. Like when I embarked on the coaching journey, I never imagined I would become an international speaker or that I would become an author or all these other things. There's so many new doors that get unlocked when you pursue your dreams. It allows you to achieve more than you've ever thought possible for yourself before, and to tap into bigger and bigger levels of potential. So to me, I think there's just something so powerful about pursuing our dreams, about using the disconnect or the discontent and the longing that we have when we're noticing that we're not fully satisfied in our career. It doesn't mean that we need to give it all up necessarily, right? Like I've gone that path where I've given certain things up, but I also think that sometimes it's okay for the pivot not to be a total 180, but just to be like a shift, a couple degrees shift in the direction that we really want to go in. So as we listen to our internal GPS, right, that allows for us to start to move more and more in the direction that we want to go. And that's where we open up this world where the impossible becomes possible, and where things that seem like a dream become our reality.
And we have to go. I'm so sorry. We are over.
Yay!
One more time, tell us the website.
SavorLifeWithDiana.com, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok at SavorLifeWithDiana. It's SAVOR Life.
So quick. My goodness. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure having you here as always, and looking forward to the next conversation. And wow, great show. Thank you so much.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, I mean, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.